December 22nd, 1944, 1700 hours. A radio operator crosses the frozen command room at German Army Group B headquarters. He hands Field Marshal Walter Model a decoded intercept. Model reads it once, then again, American armor, Third Army markings, engaging German positions at Martelange, 20 kilometers south of Bastogne. His eyes moved to the wall map. Colored pins still show Patton's divisions near Metz, 100 miles away, exactly where they were 2 days ago. But the intercept doesn't lie. Patton has pivoted an entire army 90 in under 3 days. He's already here, guns firing, closing on Bastogne. What German intelligence called a 7-day buffer. The timeline that would let them crush the 1,001st Airborne before Allied reserves arrived just collapsed. And with it, Hitler's last offensive in the West began to die. 3 weeks earlier, the Reich Chancellery War Room in Berlin. Hitler's commanders gather around a table covered in maps of Belgium and Luxembourg. The plan is elegant in its brutality. Strike through the Ardennes, split the Allied front, seize Bastogne, drive to Antwerp. General Alfred Jodl traces phased objectives on acetate overlays. Breakthrough by December 17th. Estonia by the 23rd. Meuse River crossings by the 27th. Field Marshal Model studies the blue markers representing American positions. He asks the only question that matters. How long before Patton counterattacks from the south? Colonel Horst Stump from Foreign Armies West spreads reconnaissance photos across the table. Patton's Third Army is committed to a grinding offensive in the Saar-90 Memoirs southeast of Bastogne. Disengaging those forces, turning north, driving through winter roads minimum 7 days, more likely 10. Even Patton can't defy logistics and geography. The math is clean. Hitler approves. Model returns to his forward headquarters with operational orders built on one certainty. Time is on Germany's side, but in war, certainty dies first. Mid-December Model's mobile headquarters, a converted bus in a frozen pine forest, hums with success. German armored columns have torn a 50-meter bomb in Bulge into Allied lines. Bastogne is surrounded. The 101st Airborne, cut off and low on ammunition, won't last long. Inside the bus, staff officers mark each day's westward advance with red grease pencils. The blue markers representing Patton's Third Army remain far south, anchored along the Siegfried line from Thionville to Saramines. Every morning, briefing reinforces the assumption. Patton's 6 divisions are locked in brutal combat, attacking prepared German defenses. To abandon that offensive and march toward Bastogne means coordinating with Supreme Headquarters, repositioning supply depots, navigating clogged Belgian highways. Wehrmacht calculations are precise. 7 days minimum. Model's operations. Chief pencils patent arrival. December 28th to 30 into the timeline. By then, Bastogne will have fallen. German forces will be dug in 40 Meuse West. Patton's counterattack will strike reinforced lines, not an exposed salient. Model lights a cigarette. Outside, snow muffles distant artillery. He studies the map one more time. 100 miles separate Patton from Bastogne. The offensive's margins are sound, every variable calculated. But distance, like all illusions, can vanish overnight. December 20th, a Luftwaffe reconnaissance report arrives. Heavy traffic on roads north from Ardennes. Supply convoys possibly. Model staff files it without alarm. Then, morning of the 21st, a signals officer enters carrying a radio intercept transcript. American transmissions. Third Army encryption emanating from Ardennes, not from Metz, where Patton's headquarters should be. Model sets down his coffee. His finger traces Ardennes on the map, 30 body circmines south of Bastogne. He looks at his intelligence. Chief, confirm this. Third Army cannot be in Ardennes. Over the next 6 hours, more intercepts arrive. Habay, Laniv, Neuf, Chateau. Each position closer to Bastogne. Each time stamp hours apart. The clean blue markers on Model's map are becoming fiction in real time. A motorcycle courier arrives at dusk with aerial photos. American tank columns, Shermans, half-tracks, supply trucks, moving north on the Ardennes-Bastogne highway. Not scattered units. Course-level formations in column, driving toward the guns. Model spreads the photos across the fold-out table. The first cold edge of doubt settles in. Outside, the wind picks up through the pines. The operational timeline, so carefully constructed, is starting to crack. Evening, December 21st. German unit south of Bastogne. Radio contact with American armor. Unit identification is unmistakable. Combat Command B, 4th Armored Division, Patton Spearhead. Model demands verification. 3 days ago, the IT 4th Armored was near Saarburg, 90 meters southeast. Now it's 12 meters south of Bastogne, fighting German rear guards. Inside the headquarters bus, staff officers recalculate. Patton has disengaged 6 divisions from active combat, pivoted them 90 degrees, driven them north through ice in under 3 days. One operations officer looks up from fuel consumption charts. Sir, if he's moving this fast, his supply lines are exposed. He's vulnerable. Model shakes his head. He's not vulnerable. He's here. The maneuver violates every principle of Allied logistics. Weimach doctrine would require a week of planning before attempting such reorientation. Patton did it in 3 days, sacrificing safety for speed. The 7-day buffer, the foundation of the entire Ardennes offensive, has collapsed into a 72-hour miscalculation. Model orders the bus relocated westward. As the engine roars and the vehicle lurches through snow, he stares at the map. The red arrows, marking German advance toward the Meuse, look suddenly fragile. The blue markers aren't distant anymore. They're 20 kilometers away and closing. December 22nd morning. A motorcycle courier, frost-burned and exhausted, delivers a field report from the 5th Pfalz Division. 6 hours of engagement with American armor. Shermans, Stuarts, half-tracks, all bearing 3rd Army insignia. Attached a captured map case from a destroyed U.S. command vehicle. Inside are operation orders signed by Major General Hugh Gaffey, 4th Armored Division, dated December 20th. The objective is written in blunt English: relieve Bastogne attack axis Arlon, Martelange Bastogne, no delays. Model has relocated to a stone farmhouse near Hufal. He spreads the captured documents on a wooden table scarred with cigarette burns. General Hinrich von Lutwitz, commander of 47 Panzer Corps, stands across from him, reading the intercept. Winter light filters through cracked windows. Model's breath is visible in the cold air. He traces the American advance with one finger. Arland to Martelange to Asseninoa, the direct corridor into Bastogne. Then he taps the blue circle marking his own forces encircling the town. Von Lutwitz looks up. If Patton reaches Bastogne before we take it, the southern flank collapses outside. Panzer engines start units redeploying. Model lifts the field telephone, connects to OB West. His voice is flat, stripped of emotion. Patton is here. Redirect 9th Panzer Division south, immediate. He sets the phone down gently. The 7-day buffer, the 10 days of safety, the ironclad mathematics, gone in a single phone call. December 22nd, 17:30 hours. The farmhouse is cramped, cold. A single kerosene lamp throws unsteady light across maps thumbtacked to stone walls. Model stands at the table, collar unbuttoned, exhaustion carved into his face. An operations officer enters, snow still on his boots. American armor breakthrough at Martelange. Regimental strength, possibly more. Forward elements 8 colonnes from Bastogne. They'll reach the town tonight or tomorrow morning. Model looks at the map, then at von Lüttwitz. The silence is heavy, complete. Von Lüttwitz finally speaks, voice flat. Patton Hades shaft. Patton has done it. Model doesn't respond immediately. He traces the red line marking the 4th Armored's advance. A spear aimed at Bastogne's perimeter. Then he taps the blue circle marking his own units. Units that should have captured the town 3 days ago. 3 days, Model says quietly. He did in 3 days what we said was impossible in 7. Von Lüttwitz leans against the wall, staring at smoke-darkened ceiling beams. Now we fight on 2 fronts, against the Americans in Bastogne and Patton from behind. Model folds the map carefully, precisely, as if order might restore itself through ritual. Send orders to 9th Panzer. Redirect. All units south. We hold Patton outside Bastogne, or we lose everything. The officer salutes, exits. The door closes with a soft thud. Model remains alone, staring at the folded map as the lamp flickers. The words hang in cold air. Patton had a shaft, not a report, a verdict. Within 2 hours, new orders radiate across the Ardennes like shockwaves. The 9th Panzer Division, tasked with exploiting the breakthrough toward the Meuse, receives immediate redeployment. Turn south, block Patton. The 167th Volk Grenadier Division pivots southeast. Fuel trucks desperately short reroute to units now fighting on 2 fronts. Every order means abandoning another piece of the original plan. Another kilometer westward, sacrificed at OKW headquarters in Berlin. General Jottel marks the master map. A thick black line shows maximum western penetration 30 mm short of the Meuse, the campaign's minimum objective. Patton's arrival has forced abandonment of offensive operations for reactive defense. Back in the farmhouse, Model sits alone after midnight, reading decoded Allied traffic. The intercepts confirm what he knows. By December 26th, Patton will break through. The 101st will be resupplied. German forces will face grinding defense against an enemy with air superiority and unlimited ammunition. He extinguishes the lamp, sits in darkness. Wind rattles the broken window. The orders went out. Units are moving, but they're orders to contain disaster, not win a campaign. And that difference is everything. The intelligence failure at Bastogne wasn't missing information. It was a doctrine treating Allied behavior as predictable. Foreign armies west build estimates on Wehrmacht movement principles. Divisions disengage sequentially. Supply lines reposition methodically. Corps maneuvers require 48 hours minimum. These weren't guesses. They reflected German military culture. Systematic, planning, logistical security, coordinated operations. Patton shattered it by doing what doctrine called reckless. He pivoted north while still engaged on the SAR front. Abandoned supply dumps for speed, drove divisions up narrow roads with minimal flank security, trusting aggression to substitute for caution. German intelligence officers couldn't conceive an Allied commander would sacrifice logistical safety for raw tempo. Reconnaissance flights had spotted American convoys moving north, but the data contradicted understanding of how modern armies functioned. The result, a 7-day error that turned calculated offensive into desperate scramble. Model's staff built the campaign assuming the enemy would behave rationally, predictably. Patton recognized that in crisis, conventional rationality is luxury. Sometimes winning means doing the impossible. And when your enemy's plan rests on you being predictable, speed itself becomes the weapon. December 26, 1650 hours. Lieutenant Colonel Creighton Abrams's 37th Tank Battalion breaks through at Asseninoa. contact established with the 101st Airborne inside Bastogne. The siege is over. Paratroopers, exhausted and low on ammunition, climb onto Shermans. They shake hands with tankers who drove 90 millimeters in 4 days. For German forces, relief of Bastogne transforms the Battle of the Bulge from race against time into static defensive battle they cannot win. Allied reinforcements pour into the salient southern shoulder. Artillery battalions previously rationing shells fire without restriction. Fighter bombers resume operations as weather clears, striking German armor with devastating effect. Model's redeployed Panzers fight grinding attrition against an enemy growing stronger hourly. By December 28th, German momentum stops. By January 3rd, Allied counterattacks compressed the Bulge from north and south. The operational window, Hitler demanded rapid breakthrough before reserves mobilize closes permanently on December 26th. What follows is no longer offensive. It's retreat disguised as defense. Slow collapse measured in burned panzers, exhausted infantry, roads clogged with units withdrawing east. Model staff burn operational maps that document failure, not victory. Failure to capture Bastogne before Patton arrived had consequences beyond Belgium's frozen hills. The Ardennes offensive consumed Germany's last reserves. 250,000 men, 1,400 tanks, 1,900 artillery pieces, resources never replaced. When the Bulge collapsed in January, German forces retreated behind the Rhine with shattered divisions and no strategic reserve to contest Allied crossing into Germany. The offensive also destroyed Hitler's credibility with commanders. After January, operational decisions increasingly bypassed irrational orders as field commanders fought to preserve units rather than waste them. Most critically, the battle burned fuel reserves Germany needed to oppose the Soviet winter offensive launching January 12th. An offensive that drove to the Oder River, 40 miles from Berlin, by February. Patton's relief of Bastogne marked the moment Germany lost ability to defend both fronts. Every Panzer destroyed in the Ardennes was one fewer against Soviet advance. Every artillery piece abandoned couldn't defend Rhine crossings. The 6-week battle accelerated Germany's collapse by burning irreplaceable resources in a campaign doomed from the moment Patton arrived 3 days ahead of schedule. In military history, speed trades for security. Armies move slowly to protect supply lines, coordinate flanks, maintain reserves. Doctrine is sound. Caution preserves power. Planning reduces risk. Patton's relief of Bastogne proved that under extreme circumstances, velocity substitutes for every conventional virtue. German High Command built the Ardennes offensive on assumptions mathematically sound, logistically defensible, doctrinally correct. All collapsed because one commander chose tempo over safety. Model's shock wasn't tactical surprise. It was recognition. The entire plan rested on an enemy behaving predictably. That enemy just rewrote the rules. The 4th Armored's drive 90 millimeters in 72 hours through winter under fire remains one of warfare's most audacious maneuvers. Not elegant, effective. When Model said Patton had his gas shaft in that farmhouse, he wasn't acknowledging defeat. He was announcing the end of Germany's last chance to alter the war's trajectory. History turns not always on grand strategies or overwhelming force, sometimes on a single commander's willingness to do the impossible, and the enemy's failure to imagine he'd try. The Battle of the Bulge ended with slow realization that time, war's most valuable resource, had run out. Patton gave the Allies that time back. For Germany, there would be no